This is the unit on energy. All living things must make energy in order to survive. That includes prokaryotes as well. The main organelles we're going to be talking about in this chapter, our unit, is chloroplast and mitochondria. So this is green, this is our chloroplast, and we know that because it looks like it's got a bunch of stacks of little circles in it. This one down here is a mitochondria because it's got like squiggly lines in it. Do you guys remember which organelle or organelles do we animals have? Remember the top of the animal kingdom. Do we have both of these or just one? We only have a mitochondria. What organelle or organelles do plants have? Plants have both. Okay, so they have both organelles. So, this is just a picture to get into your mind for those of you that need the pictures of the two different types of cells. There are prokaryotic cells, which are bacteria. Each purple circle is one bacteria. And look at these two right here. This one is in the process of dividing in half. So it's making a baby of itself. So is this one. And it appears this one is as well. And some of these others. So some of them are actually undergoing division. These two are eukaryotic cells. And you can see they're eukaryotes because they have all the membrane-bound organelles inside of them. Which one of these, A or C, is our animal cell? That would be A as an animal, so C must be a plant. This also includes algae, and a lot of our other microscopic pond organisms would look like this. Okay, so what we're looking at in our notes, this is your note sheet, and we are right here at the top with energy input. There's not a lot you have to fill in here, so that I will let you know what you have to fill in, but the introduction is going to be a little bit longer because I have found that students understand the energy unit a lot better if I tell you the story. So first of all, Earth's early atmosphere had very little free oxygen. And that's your first blank right there. Free oxygen means what animals breathe. So the very top blank at the top of the note sheet is what animals breathe. Earth's early environment had water, hydrogen, helium, nitrogen, and carbon dioxide. You do not need to know this. It is not highlighted. You don't have to memorize it. But how do we know that? Well, we analyze rocks of the oldest time that we have. So about 3.2 million years ago, you take a rock, you put it in a chamber, and then you pulverize it, and it releases very small microscopic gases. Okay, so that's how we found out what's in Earth's early atmosphere. Okay, now this is a little video about 3 minutes long that is going to kind of go over that, give you more of this picture. Right here.
When the Earth first forms 4.5 billion years ago, it's too hot to form with water. But the planet has water now. If it wasn't delivered by comets, then has it been here all along? To find out where the water comes from, Professor Stephen Moyges is looking for clues to when it first appears. As a geologist, he uncovers the planet's past by looking at its rocks. But the past has a big hole. It's called the Hadean, or Dark Period, because nobody knows anything about it.
The problem of the first 500 million years of Earth history for geologists has always been that you have a nightmare scenario where you don't have any rocks or minerals to investigate.
It's thought early Earth is a fireball of molten rock, but with no evidence from this time, it's just a theory. Then in 2002, Moyges makes an earth-shaking discovery. The oldest mineral sample ever found on our planet. A crystal of zircon. Locked inside these tiny grains is a vital clue. Chemical analysis of zircon crystals reveals whether they formed in the presence of water. Over 7 years, Moyges finds and dates nearly 100,000 crystals of zircon. One stands alone.
The oldest one that we've found so far is 4.38 billion years old. Now, I'd like that to sink in.
When this crystal was made, the Earth was just 180 million years old. If this line represents the age of the Earth, then the dinosaurs died out here. Rewind about 4 billion years to the end of the Dark Period. The zircon crystal was formed here.
We're talking about time spans that are beyond comprehension. For instance, in this rock here, there are zircon crystals that are 1/3 of the age of the universe. So these things have been around for almost as long as the Earth has been a planet. Talk about time capsules.
Analysis shows this 4.4 billion year old zircon crystal forms in liquid water. Rather than a dry planet, the crystal reveals that early Earth already has water on its surface.
All right, so pretty cool. So, in looking at these, that's why water is here. Okay, so looking at these zircon crystals gives you an idea of the age of the Earth, or at least that water was present on the Earth long before we were. So energy, okay, so all we've done right now in the notes is filled out this first one. Now, do you think that Earth could have supported, early Earth could have supported us and plants and fungi without the presence of oxygen? Take a look here. Do you see any oxygen here? So no oxygen. So could Earth have supported early plants and animals? There's no oxygen and certainly couldn't have supported us, but could it have supported plants or fungi? Okay, so we're going to be talking about this later. So all energy, all life requires energy, and metabolism, remember, is how an organism makes and uses energy and then gets rid of the waste from that process. So on planet Earth, there's only 2 ways to make energy, which is also called ATP. One is called aerobic respiration. The other one is called anaerobic respiration. Now, you know what respiration is. What are you doing if you're respiring? Okay, hopefully you thought breathing. So both of these are 2 processes by which breathing of sort occurs. And looking at our 2 cell types, what makes energy, the organelle that makes energy, we talked about this a little earlier, is the mitochondria. So this is an animal cell because it's round and there's no large vacuole, and there's mitochondria in it. Plant cells also have mitochondria, which is this organelle right there, has some mitochondria in it. So bacteria don't have mitochondria. So they make energy, but they can't make energy the same way we can because there's no internal membrane-bound organelles. And the mitochondria has a membrane around it. They don't have it. Okay, so what's going to happen? Well, at this point, you're going to be looking at this part of the graph. So we're looking at this graph table, and we're looking at anaerobic respiration, and we're going to fill that in. Okay, so the alternate, the slash means the same as. That is something called fermentation. So these blue bubbles, as I put them in this chart, you're going to write them down. You guys may have heard of fermentation. If you've taken a foods class, okay, you make pickles, you make yogurt, cottage cheese, regular cheese. They're all made by fermentation. So is alcohol in all forms. So fermentation means the same thing as anaerobic respiration. Well, first of all, we know that respiration means breathing. What does anaerobic mean? Well, if we take off the an, so I'm going to put my arrow over the and you look at aerobic. Aerobic means oxygen. So back in 80s, 90s or something, there was this exercise thing, everybody called it aerobics or aerobic class. That's where you're basically, doing enough exercise to where you have to breathe fast. So aerobic means oxygen. The prefix "an" in front of aerobic means not. So anaerobic respiration does not need oxygen to occur. So you're going to write the does not. So literally what this phrase means is no oxygen breathing. Anaerobic respiration, no oxygen breathing. So these are bacterial cells. They don't need oxygen to breathe. This is why you have to put something on a wound to make sure you get the infection out before the wound seals over. Because whether they have oxygen or not, bacteria are going to breathe. They're going to make energy just fine. And that can get you something called blood poisoning. Because bacteria do not have a mitochondria, anaerobic respiration occurs in the cytoplasm. So anywhere where you see the light yellow color, that's where it's going to happen. Now, amount of energy, they only make 2 ATP molecules. So let me give you an example. I always give this analogy to my students. Imagine you give your friend $1 before school starts. And at the end of the day, your friend gives you back $2. You did pretty good. You doubled your money. But still, are you going to get rich off of $2? Can you go to Bojangles and buy, chicken biscuit and, it's not going to buy you that and nice big large sweet iced tea, so it's not going to make a little energy, but not very much. And that's why bacterial cells are so teeny, teeny, tiny. These bacteria have been magnified over 18,000 times just to see them like this. Okay, if we magnified one of our cells 18,000 times, we'd be looking at a little speck in the cytoplasm because it'd be really, really big. Okay, so they're really small because they can't make that much energy. This process occurs in prokaryotic organisms. So that goes there, which are your bacteria. And if you forgot, put it in parentheses for you. And animal muscle cells. So you might think, well, wait a minute. This is no oxygen breathing, so we have mitochondria. Well, imagine this scenario. There's a deer, and it's being chased by a mountain lion. If the deer loses, the mountain lion gets lunch. If the deer wins, it gets to live and see another day. Do you think it's a good idea for the deer's muscles to say, hey, deer, you're not breathing fast enough, so I can't make energy because I need oxygen, so I'm just going to go to sleep now? And do you think it's okay for the deer to look at the mountain lion and go, hey, chill, time out, I need to rest? Okay, if you're not laughing now, maybe you're laughing in your mind. That's, of course, ridiculous. So what's happening is that your muscle cells will continue to beat even if you run out of oxygen, at least 4 times. Okay, this includes the heart as well. It's going to breathe. Now, the deer's still breathing. It's breathing as hard as it can, but that mountain lion's not giving up. And it's been 10 minutes and that deer's still running. So that poses a problem. So the all animal muscle cells can switch to this type of making energy. So our muscles can go, don't have any more oxygen, so we're going to make ATP or energy. We're just going to do it anaerobically, which means without oxygen. Okay? So when animals do this, okay, our muscle cells make lactic acid waste. Okay, so makes lactic acid waste. So I'm going to try to make this a little bit smaller so that I can come in here. There we go. And I'll make this a little bit smaller too. There we go. So it makes lactic acid waste and carbon dioxide. Well, the problem with lactic acid in our muscles is it gives us a muscle cramp. Muscle cramp. Okay, athletes. I'm not talking about the end of your season. I'm talking about the beginning when you're in preseason workouts. You ever had a muscle cramp before? Or like in track, like a Charlie horse, or your calf muscle gets a cramp? That's your muscle telling you, yo, you didn't breathe fast enough, you out of shape, and we had to go to anaerobic respiration and we made lactic acid, and the cost for that is we're giving you a muscle cramp, so you know you got to get your act together. Okay, a lot of times you don't get the muscle cramp until like late at night. You wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning screaming because your muscle's cramping. But that's why it does it. That's why you get muscle cramps. You've overworked your muscle. Because you overwork the muscle, causes problems. Now, when prokaryotes do anaerobic respiration, they actually make alcohol. So they make alcohol waste and carbon dioxide. This is where I mentioned earlier, bacteria make all of our alcoholic beverages, along with pickles, along with sauerkraut and cheese and cottage cheese and yogurt, okay, for all of that. So if you want to make alcohol, what makes different kinds of alcohols depends on what you put in there, but you always have to put in bacteria. Okay, you always have to put the bacteria in. Okay, for cheese, what makes American different from Munzer, different from Monterey, different from Swiss? What makes it different is which species of bacteria you use. So to make cheese, you use milk, you use bacteria, and we give them some enzymes along with that to make sure that they have all the enzymes they need to be able to turn the milk into cheese. So when we're eating cheese, we're actually eating dead bacteria and their waste. Their waste turns the milk into cheese. No, it's kind of gross, but it is, and I'm a cheese lover, so it works for me. All right, so this is anaerobic respiration. So how did we know prokaryotic cells somehow evolved on planet Earth? We're not really sure how eukaryotic cells evolved either. That's part of the mystery of life. Some people think of the religion viewpoint, some people think of the evolution viewpoint, and some people kind of believe both. That's a personal choice, and we don't delve with that here. But when plants evolved on planet Earth, plants, they have mitochondria and chloroplast. So the chloroplast uses carbon dioxide, which was in early Earth's environment, and plants actually produce oxygen as a waste gas. So what happened is, once the mitochondria evolved, they were able to make a lot more energy than just anaerobic bacteria, and that filled the planet Earth with oxygen, which allows the multicellular plants and animals of today to be alive. So bacteria started out by making our oxygen. Then the first primitive algae, which makes the ponds green in the summertime, they came along, they added some more oxygen, and then simple plants added even more. These plants happen to be giants amongst their species. This is found in Japan. This is actually a leaf, and that is a real baby sitting on the leaf. This thing is about 9 feet apart. And this is the largest of the elephant ear plants, and that is a full-grown man standing up. The leaf's a little bit taller than he is. Okay? So bacteria came first, made some oxygen, then some plant algae came, then some small plants came, and then animals came when there was enough oxygen. Now, how exactly all that happened, we're not talking about in this class. Okay, so now you're looking for this on your notes, and it is right here. So we're under, we're going to skip aerobic respiration for right now because we're still trying to make oxygen on planet Earth because we're kind of telling a story. So photosynthesis makes oxygen. So this is what we're doing now. So here, photosynthesis makes glucose. The reactants react together. They join together. So this blank is the word, what this means. Does anybody know what chemical that is? It's carbon dioxide. So you're writing carbon dioxide down right here. Okay, sorry I didn't put that in ahead of time. Might be able to get that. Let's see. Carbon dioxide. Copy. Okay. All right, carbon dioxide and water. So carbon dioxide, H2O is water, plus light, gives you C6H12O6, which is glucose, plus O2. You guys know what O2 is? It is oxygen. Okay. So you should know both the chemical formula and the words. Okay. And actually sitting down and just writing the equation like 3 times. And then as you write the equation, say carbon dioxide plus, this is water, light, this is glucose. If you write out this chemical equation and say what the chemicals mean, you usually have a good handle on it. The numbers here deal with the math. You have to have the same numbers of carbons on this side, the reactant side of the equation, as you do on the product side. And, we're not going to be balancing equations in this class. So the reactants react with each other. So carbon dioxide and water mix in a plant chloroplast with the presence of the sunlight, and it produces glucose, C6H12O6, which is glucose, and water, oxygen. Okay, sometimes in state exams and tests, the word light is left off to try to trick you. Okay. Now, what factors affect photosynthesis? Well, what can speed up photosynthesis? Well, if you give the plant more water, that could speed up photosynthesis. You're going to make more food when it's a completely sunny day all day long versus it's only sunny for a couple hours in the morning and then it's cloudy the rest of the day. So you can give the plant more light, more water, and it's going to increase photosynthesis, how much glucose and oxygen it makes. You can increase carbon dioxide too, but there's so much carbon dioxide in the world that's plants have more than enough. So, but if you give them not enough of these things, so if you slow this down, if you don't go on vacation, you don't water your plant for a week, well, photosynthesis will eventually stop because the plant's going to be like, hey, ran out of water, and you're not there to put water in the pot. Okay, you don't go on vacation, you close all your windows to make sure that, people don't see that you're gone. Well, the plant doesn't have light either, so it can't make glucose and oxygen if it doesn't have light. So the factors that affect photosynthesis are any of the reactants, and the reactants mix together. The products, you learned in math class, a product is an answer to a what type of problem? Addition, subtraction, or multiplication? What is the result of a product? Okay, well, the product is the answer of a multiplication product. So you mix all these together and these are your results. Okay. Now, what we're doing now, we finished this one. Oh, no, we did not. We're in, yep, so now we are right here. So we did photosynthesis. Now we are filling in this box right here. Okay. So this box right here says everything that this does, your equation. Reactants, those are your starting chemicals. So the arrow tells you how to read it, and in English, we read from left to right. Okay, now understand if you're having or your native language is Oriental or Arabic, you read the opposite, and that makes it harder. But we're going from left to right. So the starting chemicals are this. Whoa. Hold on. I'm going to have to arrange and back. Okay, that should be good. Now, okay, why did that not work? There we go. Okay, so reactants are starting chemicals. Carbon dioxide, water, and light. It's everything on the left side of the arrow. They're the reactants they mix. The products is everything on the right side of the arrow. There we go, glucose and oxygen. Now, the gas inhaled. So what do plants inhale? Well, are you going to look at the reactants or the products? What starts the equation? It is the reactants. So what gas is here? Well, light, it's not a gas. Oxygen, water, in this example, water's not a gas, but carbon dioxide is. So the gas inhaled by photosynthesis is carbon dioxide. Plants inhale carbon dioxide. They exhale oxygen. And I'm just going to, well, maybe that'll work. Okay. So after the bacteria formed on planet Earth, then plants evolved. Algae came first, and your really small plants, your moss, then your ferns, and then eventually your plants and your trees. Well, they created oxygen. They inhaled the carbon dioxide that was in early Earth. We know there was water and light in early Earth, and the video talked about water, and they exhaled oxygen. So they made, over millions of years, they made enough oxygen for us animals to breathe. And in fact, we now realize that we need the plants, we need the trees. We call the trees the lungs of the earth. We chop them all down, and 90% of the human race, all of us, are one race, we will die. Okay. Now, we're going to go on to the next data table. So back in the notes, we just finished this one. We are skipping this question for now because we can't answer it yet. Now we are down here at this part of the box right here. Okay, so the organelle. What organelle does photosynthesis occur in? We got chloroplast, vacuole, and ribosome. Which one does photosynthesis occur in? Chloroplast. Okay. And that is all plants and algae. Where's the source of the glucose from? Okay, so let's look back at this equation. Glucose is right here. What equation is this? Photosynthesis. So plants actually make glucose. Photosynthesis makes glucose. Animals, we can't do this. We could go sit outside in the sun and eat lunch, but we can't get the lunch from our sun. Okay? Organelle where water is stored. Which one of these two organelles stores stuff? Vacuole. So the excess water stored, that plant will store it in the vacuole. And remember, this is photosynthesis, so you're making energy from light. Photo is light. Synthesis, we know, is to make. And ribosomes, that's the distractor here, they actually make, it's protein synthesis, so they make proteins. So the next question is, well, plants don't have a nose like we do, so how do they get gas, how do they get the oxygen out of their cells and the carbon dioxide in? Well, check this out. So this is on the bottom of a leaf, and these little holes are called stoma. Stomata is plural. So here's one stoma, here's another stoma, here's another stoma. Together, all three of them, and then you can see another one here, there's stomata. So these are on the bottoms of the leaf. So I got these leaves here on the underside. And here's a live picture. I like this one, not a live picture, but a really good one. So it shows carbon dioxide going in and going into the cells so that they can photosynthesize. And then oxygen is leaving through that stoma, that little nose. So the nose on our faces, the nose on a little dog here, this is Chaco, okay? That is what the plants have here. And this is so small, you need a microscope to see them. So because they're microscopic, plants have between 90 to 120 of these little noses per leaf. Now, if you're looking at cactus, the cactus leaf is actually a spine, and they usually have about 4 stoma per leaf. And part of the problem is not only do gases go in and out of the stoma here, their nose, but so does water. Water evaporates out of here, and it makes sense that cactus only have 4 because they live in a desert where plants that have leaves, like what we see right here, they have 90 to 120 because they live, like around here. I mean, we get plenty of rain. Okay, so this is the first part of the notes that we have just completed. We talked about what was on Earth's early environment, plenty of carbon dioxide, of water, and some other gases, but no oxygen. Bacteria made some oxygen, then plants evolved, simple plants, algae, and then simple plants like moss and liverworts, and then ferns, and they made the oxygen necessary for us to breathe through the waste gas of photosynthesis.